So statistically, Ohio State salvaged what looks like on paper a solid running performance today in a 21-7 win at Northwestern. But at halftime, it sure wasn't. I think Myron Williams had like 13 yards on 8 carries or 6 carries, something like that at halftime. And it was a rough day, at least for half of this game, before they kind of got things going. So that would be third straight kind of subpar, not even kind of, definite subpar rushing performance for Ohio State. So as we're standing here from cleveland.com, Nathan Baird, Doug Lesmerises, Stephen Beans, we're debating, was this a bad rushing performance for Ohio State, and is it a problem going forward? Doug, your thoughts?
So I kind of blown off the struggles against Iowa and Penn State because I just throw it. It's fine. Just throw it. Wow, who cares? Just throw it. And then there were 40-mile-per-hour gusts, and you couldn't throw it. So if they face another situation where there is something extreme that means you can't throw it, they are still a team that often exerts its will. It didn't feel like there was a lot of will exerting going on in the first half. Now, Myron Williams broke a couple tackles and scored on his own for the go-ahead touchdown in the middle of the third quarter. That was huge. They got a nice jet sweep to Emeka Egbuka. That was the first touchdown. That was nice. We saw a couple CJ runs. But, like, the idea of, like, hey, you know what? 9 in the box, whatever. We have a bunch of 5 stars on the offensive line. Let's exert our will. That didn't feel like that. They were stopped on multiple short yardage situations that really mattered. Their first 6 drives were 5 punts and a stoppage on downs. And like, yeah, no, I know all the other stuff. But, like, Northwestern kind of figured out a way to run the ball before Ohio State did. And so that I thought was concerning. Now, Big Ten championship games inside. The 2 playoff games are going to be in warm weather. Okay. But as I wrote after the game, they better hope it's not blowing 40 miles per hour against Michigan. So as much as I blew it off the last 2 weeks, I thought, and Trayvon Henderson didn't play, but I thought today was a problem. I thought today was an issue that what I thought was concerning.
And I think something we'll talk about more on the Buckeye Talk pod is when you say something extreme, are you talking only in terms of the weather, or could an opponent be something extreme that's limiting the passing game that you then have to go win the game with the run? Because that's what I've been kind of trying to get at for a few weeks. And listen, Ryan Day after the game is like, I've never seen anything like that. I didn't know if the shotgun snap was going to get it back there sometimes. It was almost impossible to throw into the wind. I hear all of that. I understand why Ohio State's passing game was limited. And I understand that because of that, Northwestern knew it could put extra guys in the box. But I still think Ohio State's 9 guys should beat Northwestern's 9 guys. They should be doing what you're talking about, Doug, and like exerting their will. Like that's why you were excited to go get Donovan Jackson. That's why you think it's awesome that Paris Johnson's here. That's why Luke Whippler is here. That's why Kate Stover's supposed to be having a great year. Like you need to find a way to exert your will. I think that's the best way to put it. Like and it looked very equal at best at times, and at times it wasn't even equal. You're right that Northwestern was the one kind of dictating tempo in this game and getting the job done on the ground when Ohio State couldn't. And I think they'd be fooling themselves if they didn't take this seriously now. This is 3 weeks in a row. There's got to be some fix. And I don't know if it's a personnel fix, if there's a tweak that needs to happen there. I don't know if it's a scheme fix, but something I think has to change. They've got one more week that I think they're safe to try to figure that out, and then at Maryland is weird, and then obviously, as you say, Michigan decides the whole thing, and they can't be, I think, inept at running the ball when they get to Michigan.
They're not getting a push. The tackle-eligible stuff, that's a cool little set. You shouldn't be having to do that on 1st and 10 from your own 40-yard line. That's not where the set is supposed to be designed for. That's supposed to be goal line stuff. And we're seeing that. We saw that a lot today, some of that tackle-eligible. Now, some of that is, yes, because they were putting 9 in the box, but they were doing it last week too against Penn State, and they were doing it against Iowa too. They're using Josh Fryer in that role a lot more than you should be for a team who's got a bunch of 5 stars and top 100 recruits on its offensive line. From a personnel standpoint, I think Donovan Jackson's hitting a little bit of a wall. And we've seen these 5-star freshmen in the interior, 5-star sophomores in the interior do that. We saw it with Harry Miller in 2020. We saw Paris Johnson kind of get fatigued. Now, he was playing out of position, but we saw it a little bit with him last year. I think we're seeing it some with Donovan Jackson this year. And Matthew Jones, he hasn't looked good the last 2 weeks. And so those are two guys who are supposed to be leading your run game as your interior maulers, as guards, and it hasn't worked. Last year we could blame it a little bit on you're playing 4 tackles. Well, you're not playing 4 tackles this year. You've got a 5-star guard and the former top 60 recruit in Matthew Jones, and they're not necessarily getting the job done right now. So that's got to be fixed. We reached the point where we can actually answer the question of, has Justin Frye helped fix Ohio State's run game? And so far the answer to that is no.
Yeah, and again, I think it was the short down situations that were – there was a point where Ohio State was 0 of 8 in this game on third down, and some of it was because you couldn't throw a third down completion into the wind, and some of it was because Northwestern kicked their butt on, like, 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 and was getting that wasn't – the fourth down doesn't figure into the 3rd and 8, 0 for 8. But anyway, you know what I'm saying. They've got to fix it. They've got to get better and control the game a little bit better in those situations. More about that on the Buckeye Talk postgame podcast, and get the text 614-350-3315 for news analysis all week from Buckeye Talk.